The FDA approved the first epinephrine nasal spray for severe allergic reactions. It's a condition known as anaphylaxis.
Yeah, that's right. And here to explain what this means, how it could help you, is our 9 News health expert, Dr. Pyle Coley. Dr. Coley, good morning.
Good morning.
Explain to us what anaphylaxis is and how people will recognize it.
One of the scariest, most life-threatening reactions. And once you've seen it, it kind of scars you for life, actually. So what exactly it is your body reacting either to a food or to a bee sting or to some other type of antigen, some other thing that your body's allergic to, and it goes to war, your immune system. So think about everything being leaky. Your lungs can fill up with fluid, your airways can spasm so you can't get anything out, your lips can swell up, your tongue, your throat, it all can swell up, and then you can have GI problems as well. It can lead to cardiovascular collapse, airway obstruction, and within minutes, you can essentially die from it if it's not treated.
And we hear about this more and more often with peanut allergies or bee allergies or whatever. This is different than the EpiPen. So talk a little bit about how these two are different than each other.
You know, I think this is a life-saving approval that the FDA did. And it took so long to come around, but I'm so glad that it's finally here because it's a nasal spray. So one of the reasons we lose 500 to 1,000 people every year from anaphylaxis is because there's a delay. Now imagine if you're sitting in a restaurant, somebody has an allergic reaction to something, you're nervous to inject a stranger with something that you don't know how to use. And the EpiPen is an injection. So it's an intramuscular injection. You have to take the cap off, you have to press it against your skin, hold it down there, and squeeze until essentially all the fluid goes in. This is a single nasal spray. You can get a second one if the first one is not as effective, that you can put in the nostril that any passerby can use. In fact, the FDA asked them to do a passerby experiment where they had people walking off the street who had not heard anything about this particular nasal spray, didn't know anything about it, and saw whether or not they could use it on a stranger, and 100% of them were effectively able to use it.
And so many people probably are more familiar with the nasal spray, whether it's, for allergies or, other reasons as well. So with her permission, one thing that Erica Lopez wanted to know a little bit more about, she has an allergy to bees, as do you, and we actually had to use an EpiPen on her a few years ago, and same what you were just saying, I had no idea how to use it, so you had to instruct me. I had to stab her twice with that EpiPen. How immediate does this take effect?
If you think about the bioavailability, meaning how does the epinephrine get into your system, think about our nasal passages. It absorbs very quickly. So it's almost like an injection. And in fact, they studied it, and that was part of the delay, is they wanted to see how that second dose of the nasal injection compared to the IM injection. It looks the same. So when you do a squirt in Erica's nostril, one squirt in a single nostril followed by a second if you need to, it will have the same level of epinephrine and the same onset of action as the injection would. And this is the same spray that they use for Narcan. So a lot of us are even sort of familiar with how it works. But really what I'm picturing is every restaurant, every airplane.
Schools.
Yes, have these. And it's easy to use even for kids because you're just squirting something into somebody's nose.
I think you bring up a really good point because, as Erica was just saying, she didn't want to give herself the EpiPen, right? There's a real fear of needles for people, so this kind of takes that away. Right now, it's not for little kids, but that is where it's going, right?
That's exactly right. So about 3 million people don't use, especially kids, because of the needles. They don't use the appropriate prescription for the EpiPen. So right now it's approved for if you're 66 pounds and above. But they're working on a formulation for little kids who are less body weight, which would have less of a dose available. So hopefully that's coming later this year.
And briefly, one point we want to get in really quickly is the cost of this, because we were talking about EpiPens can be expensive. Even with insurance, they can be expensive. This is going to be really affordable for a lot of people.
It is. So we're about 8 weeks away from it being available here in the U.S. and we're looking at $25 copay for people with most commercial insurances. If you've got a high deductible plan, the company's actually saying they'll make it available for $199, those 2 doses. And if you just can't afford it, they even committed to giving it for free. So I'm really excited that this is going to change the landscape of allergies. We shouldn't lose anyone from anaphylaxis, and the fact that we're still losing Americans is a real problem. Now, if you have a nasal surgery or you've had any kind of procedure on your nose, you've got nasal polyps, then you want to talk to your doctor because then the medicine might not get in, might not be the right choice for you. Might have to stick with that EpiPen.
Well, it is big news. Big news. All right, Dr. Coley, as always, thank you so much for coming in. And of course, you can find all of Dr. Coley's appearances at 9news.com/Dr. Coley.